You're good, Chad.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is a special meeting of the Multimodal Transportation Commission. It is Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. And we're going to start this meeting just with a roll call. So I'm just going to go through our list of members. And if you're here and your video is on, just say present. If you're on the call and your video is not on, please state your name and say present. Andrew Denton. Bob Edwards.
Here.
Dee Dinsdale.
Here.
Dan Hemme.
Here.
Hunter Payton. Jessica Harley. Trey Smith. All right, and Chad Carwine, I am present. We do have another just phone call on here. So we may, have a guest on the line as well.
So this is Dion. My name wasn't called, but I'm present.
Did I skip over you?
You did.
I'm looking right here at the list. I'm looking right here. I'm sorry.
Dion, present.
So we have Dion present as well. Dion is on the line. Okay, great. Well, we do have quorum. We can proceed with this meeting. I'm just going to give a brief introduction while I share my screen here. The purpose of this special meeting of the MTC is to discuss a letter that was drafted by myself and reviewed and edited by Bob Edwards, another member of the commission. And the purpose of this letter is to provide our recommendations to City Council as well as the mayor on the City of Greenville's proposed spending of the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA funds. And these funds, did have stipulations tied to them as far as what they could be used on. And we followed those guidelines, and we kind of built off of an initial proposal that was released by the city on their webpage as to how they were going to plan to spend those funds. And basically, we just kind of went item by item and provided some recommendations. And then we threw some other things in there that would fall under the scope of how these funds could be spent. I'm sharing my screen, so hopefully everyone can see this. And if you're on the call, Dion, I hope you were able to review it ahead of the meeting, so that what we're putting in here, what we're sort of pitching to the city council as far as how to spend these funds. But essentially, you can see the recommendations right here. We have safe routes to school to promote healthy transportation. A recommendation to not decrease green space of town common by constructing coffee shops, cafes, office space, etc. Trail connections between town common, River Park North, and Wildwood, which were all, those were included in the original proposals by the city. We've added in here transit bus stops and shelters for citizens that take the bus to have some protection, in the weather elements while they're waiting on that transportation. We do have in here improved broadband infrastructure, creating a just and equitable economy for all citizens, enables K through 12 students better access to online class materials, and enabling remote work, which reduces traffic congestion and greenhouse gas emissions. I think we'll need to revisit this one because I did get some feedback on that. The next bulleted item is projects that were proposed and looked at in detail in the active transportation master plan, which is something that I participated in that planning process a few years ago. Things like installing protected bike lanes and sidewalks or separated 10-foot multi-use paths on major transportation corridors. Just a couple more here. Support green stormwater infrastructure. And I've got some information in there that we learned about the Town Creek Culvert project. That may be one that we want to talk about a little bit more as to how it relates to the charge or the mission of the Multimodal Transportation Commission. And then finally, sidewalk maintenance, safe pedestrian crosswalks, ADA curb cuts, bike paths, and traffic calming techniques should be deployed along Dickinson Avenue and Moy Boulevard, leading to Guy Smith Stadium to make active transportation safer to and from the stadium coming from the Uptown District, Health Sciences campus, and surrounding neighborhoods. Ample bicycle parking infrastructure should be included in the Guy Smith Stadium renovations. And just as a quick little bit of background on that, major improvements and renovations to that stadium were proposed in the original ARPA funding proposals. For a long time, I think the city of Greenville has wanted to get in on, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but minor league baseball. And proposal for this one is a college summer league, which we know we have a strong support for the ECU Pirates baseball team here in our community. They've had a lot of success over the years. And this would be something that would cater to college students that could play on a circuit in like a regional area. And basically a team would move from another market into Greenville if these stadium renovations and improvements, expansions were completed. So, that's definitely one of those economic development, I think, goals that they've laid out here. But the way we've tried to tie it in with our recommendations is to make, active transportation safe and accessible to everyone, because, where that is perfect opportunity for, ECU students, individuals over at Vidant after work to come over and catch a baseball game, but they can get there, if they can get there safely without driving a vehicle. I think that would be a huge win, on a project like that. However, I don't know what the latest is, but I know that the city webpage was down for a while. They may have taken it down because they are reconsidering these proposals. And so I think the best thing to do, this is my first special meeting that I've called for reviewing a letter that goes to city council, but I think the best thing to do would just open the floor for discussion on this. And then at any time, someone can make a motion for us to take a vote on the letter with or without amendments. But this is something that, with the holidays coming up, I really think that we need to either, move forward or just kind of let this go. That's my opinion.
I have a quick question. This is Councilwoman Daniels.
Yes.
In making this proposal, have you set like a monetary request? Like, for instance, with the nonprofits, they're requesting 5 million of the monies.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this proposal, are you attaching a portion? What portion of the money that you would like to see go towards this?
No, ma'am, we have not proposed any, funding amounts to any of these.
Okay.
I'm doing this more as a recommendation on how to incorporate safe, accessible, and sustainable transportation into the projects that the city put forth in their initial proposal. So it's
okay.
Just a way to incorporate these concepts into the proposed projects, rather than, we're not saying give us a pile of money and we'll go build this sidewalk somewhere. That would take a lot more research in terms of attaching costs to these. So to answer your question, no, or not.
And we don't have
Okay.
a budget. We don't have discretionary funds as a structure of our own, our bylaws and our charter.
No. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, because there's 24 million.
Mhm.
And so would we say we would like to see at least 5 or 6 million go toward these items? Not that we would oversee the monies, because that would
Right.
always be the city,
Yeah.
but just a suggestion,
Yeah,
because
no.
that's what I've seen other individuals do.
Yeah, I
departments.
understand the importance of that. A lot of these things, though, for instance, trail connections between Town Common, River Park North, and Wildwood. I know that there's designs out there for those things. We've bought
Yes.
transit bus shelters, before, because we do have them in
Uh-huh.
around the city. So there would be a
Yeah, we've got a little over 700,000, I think, set aside for that.
okay. And then on the if there was a project that was adopted from the active transportation master plan, that has detailed costs
Okay,
associated with each of the projects in that plan.
I would just note that the cost estimates, and I say this just because this is my job, those cost estimates in an active transportation master plan are planning level cost estimates, and they very rarely, if ever, take into account items that have a high variance like utilities relocation or right-of-way acquisition. So to the extent that some of those projects require those items, there may be a disparity there in those costs. But again, it's planning level. Those are things that come out in design.
I see you, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Monica, on the a proposal for how to spend the 24 million that that went around on the internet, listed, I think it was 600 and some $1,000 for for shelters at bus stops. What I'm not sure of is that amount an amount that would be needed to fully fund doing bus stops at all the stops or all of the stops on city-owned property, or is that
I do not know.
That could do like half or a quarter?
Well, I do know that currently we are doing a study to see how that will turn out, because some of the stops that are high traffic are owned property by someone else. So there are a lot of things that they're looking at now. So nothing is definitive right now for any of the bus stops.
So would it be a useful revision here for us to add the term fully fund the the whatever the term would, fully fund the construction of transit stops and shelters?
I would say it couldn't hurt, because at the end of the day, everything will be taken into consideration and then looked at, and we can see from there. So yeah, it couldn't hurt anything.
I mean, because I guess my mind is going to something like the Head Start program, which by all indications that I'm aware of has worked really well for a very long time, but it's never been fully funded, right?
Right, but that's a federal state program too.
I know, but I mean, it's funded, and the ones that are funded do well, but the funds needed to fund it fully have never been made, and I kind of feel the same way about the bus stops. If
okay, I get it.
We should fully fund them all is what I think we should be proposing, instead of like some amount that would fund a quarter of them or half of them, especially
and because I honestly don't know how that works. If some of it comes from different areas, we would have to propose it and have city staff look into how that would all be put together, and then they could bring it back to us and let us know how that would look, that would look like.
So maybe we should just put in the term fully fund the upgrading of bus stops and transit shelters.
Okay. And we could always invite someone from city staff to one of our meetings to give us some insight as to what the funding would look like, even with any of the requests. Because realistically, everyone is giving requests, so all of them are going to be met. But if there are funds somewhere else or funding that falls under the ARP program, they can give us probably a lot more clarity than I can.
I'm gonna jump in real quick, okay. Councilwoman Daniels.
Sure.
Yeah. So Bob, to fully fund all of the transit bus stop and shelters, so it's a noble request, and I support it 100%. The feasibility of it, when you're doing a capital request, 80% federal and 20% going to be local. So that's your cost. That's your cost breakdown. Now, what ARPA funds is a little different. It's a one-time funding, so it's going to be 100%. So at the conclusion of the transit study, they'll have findings and to see which stops are city property, which are CDOT, so on and so forth. And then every stop is not particularly a high volume stop. So I'm not sure if every single stop will have a shelter. Because even in your larger or other cities across the country, every transit stop does not have a shelter. If that stop has no more than 2 passengers per day, or 1 passenger a day, it may not meet the criteria for a full shelter. But that's what you have an amenity study for. And doing that study, the results will come out. But I think to Councilwoman Daniels' point, go for it. I mean, fully funding that would require the city to, add some extra dollars into whatever stops that are identified, whether we're adding stops, taking away stops, whatever it may be. But I think it's a fair request.
Ryan, a follow-up. A follow-up
Dan.
question there, and I'm going to relate this back into our current conversation about the letter. By virtue of the fact you were just discussing that, some of these may be located on NCDOT roads, state-owned roads. With the Infrastructure and Jobs Act that was just passed, there were certain provisions that were made specifically for funding transit, funding complete streets initiatives, which go all the way up through the design and construction and installation of transit facilities. Are there going to be opportunities for maybe some of these transit stops that may not be able to be fully funded through sort of the priorities of ARPA to be funded sort of through these alternative means? And then separately, with the integrated mobility enhancements plan that you're currently going through, are there recommendations?
Yeah, that's a good point.
From that we may be able to advocate for through this letter, because that
Yeah,
plan will be
that's
wrapping up, and if we end up with another unfunded plan, I got a feeling people are gonna just be ticked.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Probably, I'm sure NCDOT with the new infrastructure plan that's coming out, that's going to be new money in a new direction under Secretary Buttigieg and our secretary here in NCDOT with the directors at IMD. I'm sure they're going to have capital plans and different funding opportunities for large and small urbanized areas to capitalize on when it comes to the STIP process and so on and so forth. So I don't have a definitive answer at that point, because a lot of it is just upcoming. But I know it's definitely up for discussion when we have our planning meetings with the consultant, just to really ensure that this is part of their plan, and kind of I'll bring back what MTC is saying to our meetings. To really ensure that they're taking a deep dive and look at the current state of shelters and stops across the city, and looking at future opportunities with NCDOT and partnering with them and funding opportunities, whether it be with Urban State Match or whether it be traditional $5307. How can the city and the state work together to improve and enhance transportation?
I'm going to jump in here. I was keeping in mind BIP, I think is what it's called, bipartisan infrastructure plan or bill or something. But I was viewing this as trying to get this letter out and approved and to council. And then this would be something that we could build off of in the future when those funds become available and we get the guidelines on them. So I'm glad that you're thinking ahead about that, Dan, because I am as well. Let's just keep talking about, item by item on here. If anybody has any concerns, I did get some feedback from a couple of people about the bulleted item on here, and I'll just go on and read it again for everyone. Improve broadband infrastructure, creating a just and equitable economy for all citizens, enables K through 12 students better access to online class materials, and enabling remote work, which reduces traffic congestion and greenhouse gas emissions. And the comments that I got were, why are we talking about broadband infrastructure? We're a transportation commission. That was one of the original things proposed from the city for these funds, was broadband infrastructure. And I was trying to connect item by item to transportation. And so to me, remote work it helps, reduce traffic congestion, which makes the roads safer, which makes alternative active transportation safer as well. But if people disagree, we can just cut this one out. I'm fine with that. But that was really the only thing that people came back and said, if I, was going to ask or change or take out anything, it would be regarding that.
I was one of the ones who commented that. And I don't think it's necessarily something that we should remove. I wanted to invite more conversation on it, just because I I do think that, as the Multimodal Transportation Committee, we should be tailoring these to the specific recommendations from a multimodal transportation. There's going to be people that can advocate for all elements of improving broadband infrastructure inside of the city of Greenville and who are providing comment on this. I'm sure the Greenville ENC Alliance has already done so. I think, to the extent that we're talking about traffic congestion and reducing greenhouse gas emissions through remote work, I think that's good. I would like to see maybe some language in there to, something to the effect of discussing, whether it's something like transit signal prioritization or improving our travel demand or traffic systems management. We talk about issues with our signal systems, our signalization systems in Greenville. And one of the reasons why you can't implement some of the more advanced, like progression controlled signal systems, is because we don't have that infrastructure. That's another thing that reduces traffic congestion. It's not related to remote work. It's simply related to the fact that we don't have the broadband infrastructure to support it.
Dan, so am I hearing you right that like one of the reasons Greenville may have, I'll just say, a less capable system of coordinating stoplights and traffic flows around town on major streets is because it's hindered by the lack of adequate internet infrastructure?
Wireless communications infrastructure, I think more generally, but yeah, traffic to TSM is not a novel concept. It's something that cities have been implementing across the United States since as early as the mid 1980s, but it requires a lot of computing power in order to do it, and a
lot of like signals going back and forth from dispersed all over town to monitor traffic flow and control the lights and things like that. So that sounds like a really clear connection to transportation from enhanced broadband capability in town.
So maybe what we can say here, Chad, rather than just like honing it all in through enabling remote work, is saying something along the lines of reducing traffic congestion through the enhancement of traffic systems management. Ryan, if my terminology there is wrong, I'm like 6 hours out from my last cup of coffee. So I'm pretty sure I got the abbreviation right there on TSM, but
traffic signal what management?
It's traffic system management, I think. Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
So it might be something, Chad, more like through
transportation system management.
What?
Providing necessary capacity to support traffic system management or contemporary traffic system management systems.
And specifically from an active transportation standpoint, because as Multimodal Transportation Commission, one of our prerogatives is to look at things that are not just related to moving the car, but talking about active transportation and public transportation, transit signal prioritization and lead pedestrian intervals, things that can greatly improve pedestrian safety and the movement and competitiveness of transit within a multimodal transportation network, do require those more advanced systems to operate.
Okay, just real quick, traffic system management or traffic signal prioritization? I keep hearing different things.
Two different things. Transportation, just say transportation system management. I just Googled it.
Okay, but does this sound creating a just and equitable economy for all citizens, providing necessary, should it say the internet capacity, Wi-Fi capacity, or anything like that?
Wireless capacity?
Yeah, wireless communications.
Okay. Capacity to enhance transportation system management, and then enabling K through 12. Yeah, students to better access, enabling remote work, which reduces traffic congestion. Okay, and then get rid of and green. Just leave that.
Yep.
Okay. Let me just. I'm just going to go on and pop this in here too.
What?
Transit.
One of the questions I had about that and about the wireless was, and I submitted it back to you guys. we had talked quite a while ago, and Ryan, this was before your time, about like an app or something for the buses with ECU and the city buses and everything being able, so if somebody's standing at a bus stop, they would be able to know when their bus was coming, for better planning and things like that. So I was wondering if something like that, would help justify some of the wireless connection. I'm just trying to, or is that not something we want to look at?
That I'm familiar with what you're talking about. And in fact, ECU's transit buses are all on an app like that. It's called Bus. I was going to look it up because I don't know if Great is on it.
Either way, if the wireless capacity or the broadband capacity in the city was enhanced, then everybody's ability to access that from whatever they're holding in their hand would be enhanced.
I'm seeing Greenville Area Transit on here.
You talking about Next Bus, Chad?
Yeah.
Right. So to Bob's point, whether it's Next Bus, whether it's Passio, whether any sort of transit app or mobility app, furthermore, that we're moving to, I think increasing broadband, increasing the overall bandwidth in the city is just going to help everyone involved with just accessing information. That's why I think that was it that first set that you guys have with enhancing the transportation system management. I mean, I think you can take that term and Dan, I know we can get real technical with that term, but if you look at it in a broad sense, right? Transportation system and managing your transportation system, period, right? So I think it's a fair request. It's a clever request and it makes sense. If our cities are only getting larger, right? More population, it's more people using the internet, it's more access. So yeah, it makes sense to me with all the apps we're having, and with buses using wireless technology, moving in the future with autonomous vehicles. That's an aspect of internet as well. So everything has to be connected.
So I threw a link here that also says improving access to Next Bus app for great riders. I mean, I think the more specific we are, because City Council would, I don't want to speak for Monica, but laying out all these individual specific reasons to me is a better way to back something than just saying improving transportation system management. Because to me, even as the chair of the MTC, I wouldn't have known what that was, or what all that entailed. And by listing out these specific things that it would help, I think it just is even more reason to put money behind it. Is everybody okay with that line? Improving access to the Next Bus app for great riders?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would actually, let me add one possibility, because it's not just the app as well. There's also smart fare box technology, which makes it easier to pay for a trip. So maybe not just saying improving access to the Next Bus app, but also enabling smart technology for to improve public transit service.
Okay.
The scan codes are everywhere, and that's how people do their restaurant menus anymore. It's how we check in patients here now. They have to scan the box to check in. It's not even a go push a button, it's scan it with your phone to check in. So it's becoming more and more that we're going to have to be wireless. And I think I agree with you too, Chad. I think that the more we give them, we drill it down, because we're to be the experts at this, not that we are, but I'm just saying we're to be the subject, the SMEs, if you will. And the more we can give them, that's why they have us. And I think giving them more things in each of these line items really drills it down deeper to say, okay, yeah, I see where they're going, or I see what they're talking about. Because the more specific you can be about something, the better it'll, when you're writing a grant, it's.
I don't know. It's hard to do like on the spot with an audience as far as coming up with the words for all this stuff.
You're doing a great job, Chad.
Implementing smart technology to increase access to NextBus app and enable, what was it? Something fair about Farebox. I know what you're talking about.
We can get that specific if we'd like. I think that's just one that especially if that's not a recommendation that's coming out of the integrated mobility enhancements plan, we may not want to be that specific in this letter to say, hey, what are we even talking about here? But I would say, to increase access to the NextBus app and improve public transit service.
There you go.
Okay.
For great riders.
Implementing smart technology to increase access to NextBus app and public transit service for great riders. Okay, I think those are all separate enough. I mean, we're talking about the great experience technology for transit. We're talking about the wireless system for traffic management. We're talking about enabling K through 12 online learning and remote work, which would reduce the traffic congestion. So we've really hit a lot of things under the improved broadband infrastructure category of projects or whatever.
And everybody who rides the bus reduces traffic congestion.
Right.
Yeah, not just current great riders, but making it easier and more facilitate it more for more of the rest of us to ride the bus.
Mm-hmm. Were there any other of these bulleted items that stuck out to anybody that, we need to add stuff to bolster the recommendation, or things that we want to discuss in terms of, is this really necessary? The other one that the more I thought about it, the green stormwater infrastructure, that is a thing. I mean, that's a topic that, or a type of project that can be funded through these ARPA funds, is stormwater infrastructure. But I haven't really offered anything in here that ties it to transportation in terms of my explanation. And this was really just me thinking out loud to share with you all that we just learned last week that the regenerative stormwater conveyance system in the Town Creek Culvert project is performing better than it was initially modeled. So more projects like this to manage stormwater and improve water quality of the Tar River and tributaries that feed into it. I mean, I'll be honest, I would read that and be like, why is the Transportation Commission proposing this?
I don't know enough about it.
That's the sustainability manager and me coming out and throwing things in there. So this one, I know for a fact that the Environmental Advisory Commission is going to really emphasize the stormwater and water quality funding opportunities. So I'd be fine with cutting this out. I think it's going to get touched on elsewhere.
I don't know enough about it. I know in projects that I've completed for other cities, we've made green stormwater infrastructure recommendations around roadway redesigns. So I think it certainly has a tie into the transportation component of our committee, to the Multimodal Transportation Committee. I just don't know enough about what we would write in here to state that. So I think if we can include it, I'm not the person to put the language in there.
Then perhaps we could just cut it, and
Yeah.
it would make the whole thing more concise and focus on the other points that we're more comfortable with at this point.
Yes, because I do know that it will be emphasized through other letters of recommendation too. So, and I do think that that's also going to be a big emphasis on that infrastructure and jobs bill, Dan, for stormwater too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's guaranteed funding.
Yep. All right. I got rid of that one. I just made the executive decision to hit the delete button.
I have two minor points.
Okay.
In the active transportation master plans bullet, rather than say install protected bike lanes, I'd recommend using the word separated bike lanes, just because and this is just being transportation planner me, sorry. The Federal Highway Administration's bikeway selection guide defines categories as like shared on street or separated, but protected isn't one of the terms in there. So
Okay.
if we're guiding them towards what are the classes of facilities we'd like to see, separated would be the right word.
Okay.
And then this is going to be even more minor. In the next bullet about sidewalk maintenance, safe pedestrian crosswalks, ADA curb cuts, rather than say bike paths, I would say bike ways, because that entails a whole category. And again, it comes from that FHWA language. Bike
Perfect.
path could be a side path, it could be a trail, it could be any one number thing.
Sharo or something. Yeah.
The term itself, the official term, if we care about it, would be bikeways.
Okay.
It's like when I say it's minor, that's super minor, but
If we're trying to,
Yeah.
I really like the point that you said about the Guy Smith Stadium related to what Greenville's really trying to do with that.
Mhm.
And I think if we can tie this maybe to some economic, or am I getting too deep, tie this to some type of economic development so that they see we're on the same path that they are for
Mhm.
what they're what their vision is for the Guy Smith Stadium? Or is that not enough transport?
Just working economic development, that just kind of basically acknowledging that we see this as an economic development opportunity for the city as well, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that we see spending
that
the
can
money
just-
here is not only going to make it better for the people, but it's also going to make it better for the city economically with upgrading the stadium. Yep, there you go. Are you guys cool with that, or?
cool by me. I don't know if anybody's
What?
been to a Coastal Plain League game or not, but it's super fun to attend.
Oh, they are. They're great. Yes. And the whole thing with the Little League games that were here were amazing. The money that the city got for all of those Little League games, the All-Star, or what was it, the World Series, that was amazing.
Yeah.
If we can get something like that here, if Kinston can, we should be able to. I know. Don't laugh at me, Jan.
Oh, you said Dan.
I've had that very conversation, but I don't want to get off track.
Okay, I understand. I know
I'm
we're
with
on
you.
transport. I'm just, it just kills me.
Okay, what about this? I added to that sentence, the MTC views this project as a viable economic development opportunity for our community and supports this project with safe, accessible, sustainable, and active transportation options included. How about that?
I want to throw in there the word affordable, or if you want to put it equitable, given
Safe, accessible.
I think that's an important component of one of the reasons why you include active transportation infrastructure is because it is more affordable for people who cannot afford to drive.
Do you want affordable or equitable? And would those be a substitute for accessible, or you're just, because I was thinking accessible from like physical accessibility standpoint, but accessible could also mean sort of along the lines of inclusive or equitable.
Even like the scooters, even though, those little scooter things that people ride around on. I mean,
Yeah.
they use the bike paths because they don't go fast enough.
Mhm. Yeah, I think accessible and equitable stand out from each
Okay.
other.
I like that addition to that last bullet point there. Dion, I know that you're on the call. I can't see what we're looking at here, but if you had a chance to review it before, do you have anything else you would like to throw in here? Otherwise, I'm about to make a motion to take a vote on this thing.
Yeah, I've been listening and I really don't have anything to add. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check since you're on the call and
Since you already forgot about me one time today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do that again. You know?
No, everything sounds really good. I mean, I like the, I like the additions that we kind of made, and
Okay. Well, I appreciate the question from Councilmember Daniels about cost, but that's not something I'm willing or able to add to this. But I just really view this as, if you're going to spend this money on some of these projects that we're talking about in here, can you at least consider these aspects of it, along with the other expenditures? So I do think a lot of the estimates are either out there or would have to be come up with, as a part of the project anyways. We're not just saying, give us a pool of money to go and do things with. So I'm comfortable submitting it without cost estimates attached to it, as long as everybody else is. And then the last paragraph just says the MTC was recently briefed on the ARPA, as well as the projects proposed in the City of Greenville's list of appropriations. Within the proposed focus, we believe, there needs to be a comma there, we believe that facilitating the development of a safe transportation network for all users, enhancing the recreational facilities of the Greenway network to include active transportation facilities, and emphasizing how the creation of a vibrant, active, and sustainable community would help Greenville continue to move in a positive direction for all its citizens during recovery from COVID-19. As such, on behalf of the MTC, please accept this letter of recommendation for the City of Greenville's ARPA appropriations.
Do you want to say, and this is probably getting picky, at the bottom, recovery or moving forward? Because recovery sounds like we're still sick.
Okay, and move in a
But
positive direction.
that's a nurse in me. Direction for all the
Continue to move in a
citizens
positive direction. I didn't want to say following COVID-19 because we're still in the heart
Right.
of this beast.
Right, but moving forward with COVID-19. It's not going away, it's going to be here, but I would say moving forward with COVID-19. These are a positive direction moving forward. Continue
So
in a
just
positive. Yes,
help Greenville continue in a positive direction moving forward with COVID-19.
yes.
Mhm.
There we go.
Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, recovery sounds like we're in rehab or something.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it.
Huh?
I can appreciate it.
Not that kind of rehab. I meant
No,
like
no, no, no.
rehab, physical rehab.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I agree
Okay.
with I agree with the edit. I'm a grammar freak, so I'm going in here and correcting things. I just whipped this thing together really quick last week. So I don't want to make any changes though after we vote. So I'm trying to get it looking nice. Basically, the only other thing that would be changed is I would tomorrow I'll print this, sign it, save it as a PDF, and then send it via Ryan or Valerie, somebody, to the city council.
Chad, actually, I have one more question. It just sort of occurred to me on the active transportation master plan projects, and I see Elyud's on the call as well. So Elyud might be able to speak to this. The active transportation master plan has a list of priority projects, whether it's near term, midterm, long term style projects. Rather than just saying like, hey, let's install separated bike lanes or separated bike facilities, do we want to include a statement in there saying implementing the priorities, the priority projects as stated in the active transportation master plan? I know there's maybe some conversation about, is there going to be an update to that master plan? But to the extent that we haven't accomplished all of the goals or accomplished or implemented those priority projects, that may be something worthwhile to reference in there, because those are already, looking forward with an eye towards like, grant funding or sort of what we're doing with these funds. There's already a stated sort of public prioritization of those particular projects.
And just put like including installation of those.
Yeah, implement the priority. Implement priority. I guess the language would be implement the priority projects of the existing active transportation master plan.
Well, I mean, I kind of wanted to Well, I guess I don't really do that with any other ones. Okay, I'll just move it around then.
I mean, it's also like completely up for discussion as well. I'm not saying necessarily do this, but really kind of like asking the question, would that be worthwhile?
I mean, I don't know who's looked at that plan outside of people on this call, to be honest with you. So
I've looked at it, Chad.
I said besides people on this call right now. So what I'm getting at is basically we have projects in the extra transportation master plan that are pretty well fleshed out and have somewhat loose cost estimates tied to them. Can this funding be spent on some of those things? I do like including installation of separated bike lanes and sidewalks or separated 10-foot multi-use paths, because that's a big thing we've been pushing for a long time. And it includes some of these streets, which I know 10th Street is a DOT street. We can't do that. I don't know how much we want to get into this as far as what is the city's responsibility and what's not. I mean, I might as well take 10th Street off because you can't even do anything with that. With it being a DOT road. And does the same apply to Evans and Greenville Boulevard or not? I mean, I don't know. I could just leave all these streets off of here. Just leave it as major transportation corridors.
Ooh,
I mean, just because, sorry to sort of wax here for a second, just because it's a state-owned road doesn't mean the city can't have a plan for it and have items that they'd like to incorporate. It just means the DOT doesn't necessarily have to do them. They have a policy of saying if you have recommendations for complete streets elements, they will take them into consideration in planning, design, and construction, and that they will, to the greatest extent feasible, actually implement them. So just because 10th Street is a state-owned road doesn't mean we're like forever doomed to never have bike lanes on them because the state DOT doesn't do that kind of thing. It just means we need to have those plans in place and we need to be advocating for them both through planning, through construction.
I would like to get complete streets, that term in here somewhere, but I'm trying to think, including complete streets practices like the installation of. What about that?
I'm not gonna say no to seeing the words complete streets in something.
Yeah, I wanted to work that in after you said it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can, you know, do something with it, then we'll leave the streets. But otherwise, I think just major transportation corridors would be fine. Thoughts on that?
looks good. I move that we vote on this letter to be sent to the city council through Mr. Ryan Myers.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in
Edwards.
favor? Let's go person by person, so that we can get the names recorded. Dan Hemme.
Aye.
All right, the motion was made by Ms. Dinsdale, seconded by Bob, and now we've got Dion Evans.
Aye.
Aye, and then last but not least, Chad Carwine. Aye.
Miss Evans, if you can just go back and just make sure you announce yourself before you vote and vote again, please.
Okay. Dion Evans, aye.
Thanks for keeping us on on the rules, Valerie. Appreciate it.
Sorry.
I forgot. All right, so we have a letter. I'm going to do the thing, print it, sign it, save it as PDF, and I'll send it to Ryan tomorrow. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you all for joining this call. I really appreciate it. If I don't see you, happy holidays, safe travels, all that stuff. And look forward to our first meeting of the new year.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
I second.
And seconded by Ms. Dinsdale. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Dion Evans, aye.
All right. We're done. Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.